So Pavlo's goal is to be one of the best strongmen in the world. And as you all probably know from following Pavlo's journey throughout all his competitions, he did absolutely amazing in near every single event, but he would always drop points in the deadlift. And it wasn't something that he didn't know and everybody didn't know. The comment section was always filled with, oh, if Pavlo could just sort his deadlift, he'd be winning XYZ shows. Pavlo's training previously was set up in a manner that was extremely anterior chain and kind of explosive power focused. It was almost in like an athletic it almost looked like kind of like a throwers programming system that had strongman sprinkled in, and it was very anterior chain dominant, and it was an amazing programming system that turned Pavlo into the athlete that he was. Just by looking at the programming system, I could fully visualize and see the outcome and understand exactly why Pavlo had turned into the athlete that he had. He's so explosive, so technically efficient, and got such good endurance and capacity to work that he was absolutely incredible at all these events. But he was just missing a few key things that were holding him back on his deadlift. Now, Pavlo had been thinking about taking the jump over to MST for a little while, but eventually after Shore Classic, he made the jump across to me. And when I analysed Pavlo's programming, one of the things that I wanted to do is make sure that I didn't take away from the athlete that had been built previously. Because like I say, Pavlo and who he was at that time was still an absolutely incredible strongman. And he had skills and traits that were the best in the world in certain areas. So it was a little bit of a challenge to make sure that I continue progressing with what he's already got, as well as adding something new in. So the framework that I went with is I analysed how much volume and how much frequency he did on his anterior and posterior chain, and it was an extremely anterior chain focused programming system. So I basically flipped that around so that instead of kind of 70-30 anterior posterior, we did 70-30 posterior anterior chain work. So the anterior chain being kind of the front half of the body and the posterior being the back half of the body. Because I've worked with so many high-level athletes over the years, I have a very good framework, a very good programming system, and understanding of metrics and basically weight that should be used and predictor lifts and targets that should be hit on certain exercises, how much volume somebody should be able to handle, how much load you should be able to hit on certain accessory lifts. So using this framework and programming system, I just started picking out weak links in Pavlo's posterior chain. And the programming system, it was very simple, to be honest with you. It was just mainly the exercise selection that was the key driver. And then just simple linear progressions to get him out of kind of a strength ditch in certain ranges of motion or a certain movements. And then we were able to progress them over whilst refining his technique. The thing with Pavlo was he suffered with back pain previously, and it always held him back from feeling confident to do volume or any work for his posterior chain, due to a previous injury that he had. On the exercises that I chose, they were so light to begin with that you could actually say that they were rehab at the start. But then as you linear a rehab exercise, as it starts getting stronger, it now becomes a strength exercise. And we basically took Pavlo's strength in these movements and planes of motion he was weak at, like frontal plane he was very weak at, for example. Once we got them to a super high level, the back pain went away and his confidence increased, his ability to handle volume on the deadlift increased. We could then increase his workload, and then over a period of 6 months, we were able to get him to a 400 kilo deadlift, which a lot of people said that Pav will never pull 400 kilos. They just thought Pav was the type of athlete that is amazing at all these other movements, but is never going to be able to pull something like 400 kilos. And it wasn't even that difficult, to be fair. It's only 6 months in. I really do think that we can just continue to take that ceiling higher. It's not like it's suddenly capped at 400 kilos. It'll take a bit longer, but there's no reason why we can't continually add 5-10 kilo a year to Pavlo's deadlift and make him one of the best deadlifters in the strongman scene. If you're a coach and you want to learn some of the predictor lifts I use, the ratios that I use, and some programming systems that I use to progress them, make sure you check out our course, the Accredited MST Systems course. It'll teach you everything that I know about strongman and strength programming. And if you want access to run through some programs just like Pavlo's ran for his deadlift, make sure you check out the app, download a free trial. You can either plug in and play a pre-built program, or you can build a custom program for your own goals and your own weekly structure.